Hello everybody, this is Serpent, and welcome back to another episode in Minecraft. This one's not a tutorial, it's not an iCraft episode or anything, but it is interesting because I like this thing. It's a rather large redstone contraption, even though it's not all that complicated if you actually think about how it works. What it is, as you may have noticed in the video title, is a sort of menu system using chests, and this works in survival Minecraft too. It's just a pain to build and not very effective or efficient, but whatever. Anyway, okay, so let me show you how it works. Right now we are in a submenu of the file tree, if you will. It's not actually a file tree. There aren't any files, but you get the idea. Anyway, this pane here, if we select it, then you can see that our file goes away, our our sub menu goes away, and a new menu comes up. This is the main menu, and that's why there's this pane here to access it from any of them. Because if you want to return to them, then that's what you want to do, what you need to do. Select the main menu button. So I have a couple submenus. The nether related one is the one I showed you there. I'll show you the redstone one right now. Basically, you just toss the you just select the menu you want by clicking on it with Q. Click being used loosely there. But yeah, it works pretty well. I figured out I've wired out the kinks. Right now, none of the submenus actually do anything, by the way, in case you're wondering. I'll show you how it works in just a moment. I also have a couple blank menus in this list, so I'll show you one of those as well. Just because, you know, it's one of the things that happens. And there it is. So you can see that no matter what, even though I haven't set up anything specifically for this key, this menu, it's still there. It just doesn't have anything in it. And you still have the ability to head back to the main menu. So it's not a broken part of the system or anything. It's just not yet put in, which is kind of nice. It's got a little bit of self-fixing, if you will, or I don't know what it's called. I'm not sure. I should know, but the word's not coming to my brain. Anyway, you may wonder what this and this are, or yeah, this and this are. Anyway, they aren't actually implemented yet. This is supposed to be a hierarchical item storage system. So you select a subcategory of you select a category of items, and then maybe a subcategory, and then maybe the item, or something like that. I'm not sure how many categories I want to go through, because this isn't a very efficient way of doing it. Well, I mean, I think this is probably the only way of doing it. But storing items in that respect, this isn't very efficient in general. It's cool, but it isn't efficient. Anyway, let me show you how it works now. Alright, so let me show you how this works then. When you toss one of the items, I'll just explain it first, and then you'll be able to see it as it happens more easily. So when you toss the item, it will flow down this stream and drift on down these hoppers, and when it reaches the filter it matches, it will fall down into the hopper beneath and then be transported over here. We'll get back to that in a minute. It's not really too important to the functionality of the design. But when it does end up finding its way through, it'll emit a redstone signal, and that signal will launch one of its lumps of ice up into this dropper instead of that one, giving off a redstone signal through this comparator. And whenever this happens, that means that menu has been selected, that item has been selected. And the system will remember that, even though the item back over here is now traveling up this water stream to be returned to the place where it's come from, to return to whence it came. So over here then, when that happens, and my mouse is dead again, let me get out the other one. Here we go. That's happened twice now. I don't think it's the batteries at this point. I'm doubting it. Anyway, so yeah, when the item is picked, it will launch one of these items here. Sorry, I was interrupted there. It'll launch one of these items from the bottom dispenser, from the bottom dropper, I guess, into the top dropper. The comparator will then have that signal be emanating, but that won't actually get anywhere because there's no block for it to go through, and that's because we don't really want it to happen. If the items up there are ejected too quickly, then they will also be emptied from the chest with the previous menu. So the signal from the item you tossed waits until all is well, all is gone, and then things are ejected. So how does that work then? Well, the comparator, like I said, waits with the signal from this thing, and eventually over here, this circuit here, it initially detects the item that's tossed through this tripwire, and the item then is the signal from the item is then transmitted through these droppers. It retracts this piston here and lets an item through. Now that's important because anytime items travel through this hopper, the piston retracts. And so once it retracts once, all the items are going to disappear. Case in point, let me just, there we go. And see, it stayed gone for the entire, it stayed retracted for the entire time those items were flowing. So, and that's our what is it? Our empty menu. So, whenever this torch turns on then, that's when this piston extends, and that means that the loading is over. Whenever that happens, this system here detects the happening. Now, that's complicated and irrelevant, so I won't talk to you about that. Basically, there's a flicker at some point, so I have to ward out the flicker, make sure it doesn't activate at the wrong time. Okay, so basically the pistons extend, let a pulse through, then the item disappears back down into the bottom of the dispenser due to this circuit here. There has to be a lot of delay in this circuit, hence this and this, because the item there travels, and if it travels slower than the redstone signal, then by the time the item is expected to be in this dropper, no signal will have put it there, and by then these will never extend again. So the opportunity will be missed, and that's not going to work very well. That's why there's waiting. Yes. Now, that's basically it. Whenever one of those signals does finally get through, it activates one of the menu systems, which basically just drop items into a stream over to the hopper. So that's all pretty straightforward, and the items that are used this way and that are drained are inevitably returned to the system that they came from. So yeah, all works pretty well there. Now, one more thing, whenever you're making more of these filters, whenever you're making more of the menus, you set up a new one of these, 8 of them or less if you don't want as many, or more if you do, and then you can drop items into this water stream here instead of going and manually putting them in, and that'll just fill them up as space is found. So that works out pretty nicely too. I think that's basically all I wanted to show you. It's just pretty fun. I like this thing. quite a lot. I'm definitely not going to build this on the iCraft server. I'll just, well, actually, I am going to build a fancy unnecessary storage system, just not quite this unnecessary. It'll be Archives Mini, if any of you get that reference for next season. Anyway, that's probably going to be about it. Like I said, I do want to finish these off. This is item retrieval and return, so it's a storage system. So hopefully I'll get it to the point where items can be dispensed here. I don't know about that though. I'll hopefully eventually come back with another video on this subject. But for now, I think that's probably all I want to talk about. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I know it's not too fancy or anything. Well, the machine is pretty fancy. Yeah, I like this video. Never mind. I'm not apologizing. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed it. I shall see you in the next one. And when I finally got back up, take care. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.